Or truck?
Truck.
Who's better looking, me or Chris?
Myself.
All right, Coach.
All right, Coach. Rapid fire. You're on the clock.
For $1 million. This is
Fourth
$10,000 pyramid.
Fourth quarter.
Fourth
Fourth
quarter.
down. 2 yards to go. Here we go.
Well, let's
Run the dang ball.
Give it to Marshawn
Let me go to the NC 17 section.
They saved all the bad ones for me.
Nah, we're good. Ready?
I'm ready.
Amusement park or day at the beach?
Day at the beach.
Candy or popcorn?
Candy.
Pen or pencil?
Pen.
Toilet paper, over 100.
Ooh. Doesn't matter. As long as there's toilet paper.
Cups in the cupboard, right side up or upside down?
Upside down.
Hugs or kisses?
Hugs.
Dancing or singing?
Dancing.
Chinese or Italian?
Ooh, Chinese.
Are you an early bird or night owl?
Neither. I just hate being awake. I'd rather sleep.
We've had some quality interviews.
We'll go into one. Skiing or snowboard?
Skiing.
Blue or white?
Blue.
Blue or red?
Blue.
Blue or green?
Blue.
I think you like blue.
Blue. Cowboys or aliens?
Aliens.
Sweater or hoodie?
Hoodie.
Pancake or waffle?
Pancakes.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Blinds or curtains?
Curtains.
International vacation or a new TV?
International vacation.
Ocean or mountains?
Mountains.
Horror movies or comedies?
Comedies.
City or country?
Country.
Winter or summer?
Winter.
Who's better looking, me or Chris?
I'm going to go with the bearded one.
Are you talking about Joe?
I don't know.
I'm hurt.
There's two beards here.
All righty, guys. I know you got a big week ahead. Again, big ball game. Marion coming to town. Again, I've got a feeling that this is going to be the one. We put it all together and get on that run. Again, appreciate you guys so much for what you do. And again, it's been a joy covering you this year. Look for bigger things, and we want to keep on talking all the way into November and December. So thanks for spending just a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Coach Dart, appreciate you so much. And again, like I said, we'll see you on Friday night as well. A little less than 48 hours away. Homecoming night. So again, get some rest, guys, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
Yes, sir.
All righty. So again, like I said, I want to say thank you to everybody for interviews tonight. We'll take a quick break, come back. We've got a lot more to talk about for Chris does. We'll be back. And you're listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio.
Whether you're headed out to the game or if you're looking for something great to eat, stop by and see your friends at the Campus Drive-In just down the road from Gate City High School on Kane Street. They have a tremendous selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items, and they're open 7 days a week. Campus Drive-In has supported Blue Devil Sports for over 60 years, and once again, they are the proud sponsors of our halftime show here on Gate City Sports Radio. Please follow them on Facebook and place your call-in orders by dialing 276-386-3702. Again, that's 276-386-3702.
You are listening to the home of Blue Devil Sports. This is Gate City Sports Radio. Sports Radio.
And we're back here live from Campus Drive-In on Kane Street. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody spending some time with us tonight. Chris, we've been inundated with guests, but it's been a great opportunity. And again, that's the reason we do this. It's to celebrate these young people. A lot of interest, and of course, like I said, I always like to have a little fun with them as well.
Oh, it's been fun. I don't know if people listening can tell that or not, but we've had an absolute blast with this tonight. So if you want to, we'll take a minute and we'll go straight into Northeast Tennessee football now. If we want to summarize that up, or do you have something else queued up?
No, let's take a look at Southwest Virginia, Upper East Tennessee. Like we said, we're getting to playoff time. Everybody starts talking about playoff. Who's played who, especially in Tennessee. Of course, where they do it differently. A lot of conference standings and everything like that. A lot of important matchups that took place last week. So, what do you got so far with what happened in Upper East Tennessee?
Well, I got 5 games I particularly wanted to highlight tonight. First one, of course, is the Dobyns-Bennett Indians took care of business over Jeff County. They won 35-0. Dobyns-Bennett quarterback Zane Whitson threw for 2 first-half touchdowns and then led the Indians on scoring drives on their first 3 second-half possessions. After that, Dobyns-Bennett just rolled. The game wasn't without a cost, though. Linebackers Jed Harris and Nate Whitley were both out with injuries, and then DB also lost 3 members of their offensive line. I was talking to one of their coaches. He works with me, and they're looking at potentially having to bring in some defensive players, put them on the O-line, maybe even the linebackers. They're going to put them down there. He seemed to think it'd be all right. He said they're in good enough shape to do it, but I could tell he's a little worried about it, and they really picked the worst time of the year to get the injury bug. They've got Farragut rolling in this weekend.
A tough team, and we've talked about them all year. That back 7 for Dobyns-Bennett has been their strength. Those linebackers, they allow so many things to happen. Of course, not only their blitz packages, but they're able to cover those backs out of the backfield. Most of these guys are going 4 and 5 wides on Dobyns-Bennett, trying to spread them out. They've been able to not have to come off the field. So, yeah, it's very, very important.
I just don't. I'm kind of worried about them too, having to shift gears like that from a defensive linebacker secondary position to suddenly being on the offensive line. That's a huge shift in your perspective there.
Because, again, the Admirals are big up front on both sides of the line. So, be interesting to see what happens at J. Fred this week.
Well, that's a good thing about it. We'll find out.
Indeed.
Well, after beating Sullivan South in the season opener, things went south in a hurry for Boone. Do you like what I did there?
A little pun.
Until Friday night. The Trailblazers stopped their skid. They beat Morristown East 28-21, but they tried their best to give this game away. Boone was ahead by 3 touchdowns at halftime. Then Morristown East got the ball, trailing 28-21. They were on Boone's 15-yard line with 10 seconds left in the game, but the Trailblazers did manage to come up with a stop on the final play of the game. I could not imagine if they'd gone on and lost that game after being up by 3 touchdowns after the kind of season they've had. This week, though, Boone hosts Volunteer, and that should give them another big win. So the next thing you know, we were talking about Boone's season kind of crumbling around them. Suddenly they've got a real possibility of right here just past the midway point having 3 wins.
So you're discounting the fact that Volunteer coming in?
Yes.
Ooh.
I'm discounting Volunteer.
Is this your stone cold lock of the week? Would you go that far? Would you bet your house on it?
I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I would give it about my lock of the week, yes. Being at Boone.
Okay.
If it's a Volunteer, it might be a different story.
Of course, we'll see. Again, the pick and panel picks will be out on Friday afternoon. So, again, that was one of the games that we're picking, so we'll see what happens with that.
Morristown East, they have a big game this week also. They're taking on Dolly Parton's alma mater.
Ooh.
The Smoky Bears of Sevier County are going to be taking on Morristown East, and that should be a good matchup. Hampton quarterback Connor Jones passed for 3 touchdowns, ran for 2 others, as the Bulldogs took a huge bite out of Sullivan North, 49-21. Early on, this was a defensive struggle, but then Hampton was able to pull away during the second half. It's blowing my mind, Sullivan North this year. Undefeated on the road, winless at home.
Can't buy one at the home. That's, of course, North kind of has been exposed with some of these teams, with some of the offenses. And, of course, they've been their own worst enemies as well. Again, in this ballgame, I believe they had 3 turnovers, 3 against Chucky Doak, which one of them they took back 99 yards, a fumble for a touchdown. It's unfortunate for the Fighting Preston Patricks. They sit at 4-3.
Well, this trend is not good for North. They host Happy Valley this week.
Ooh, and another one bites the dust?
Well, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. Another game I wanted to mention was the Farragut Science Hill game. Farragut won this 35-25. If there's ever been a Jekyll and Hyde football team, it's Science Hill this year.
The Hilltoppers.
They look like world beaters one game, then they act like they've never been on a field the next. Friday night, they totally gave the game away. If we've got time, I would like to recap some of the Science Hill mistakes in this game.
Go for it.
Okay. First possession.
They only close at 9, so we got till
First possession, an interception, which then followed by a quick Farragut score. Up 14-7, Science Hill gets a stop and then turns the ball over in their own territory. After a pick, Science Hill produced an 8-yard loss with their defense, then gave up a 42-yard touchdown. And then apparently, that's what I was reading and following up on the game, there were a lot of missed tackles on that play. About a minute left before halftime, they missed a 28-yard field goal. They stopped Farragut 2 times in a row consecutively, and all they could muster out of it was a 3-pointer, a field goal.
Thank you for clarifying that, because
Yeah.
we don't
Didn't want that 3-point play sneaking back
the
in.
3-point conversion. So
It's trailing 21-17. Science Hill punts. It's blocked. And Dylan Cossey for Farragut scoops it up for a touchdown. Then trailing 28-17, they had their 3rd interception of the game, and 1 play later, Farragut scored. So that was just, to me, almost sounds to me like that Farragut didn't so much win that game as Science Hill just gave it to them on a platter.
well, that's what, and we were, of course, given the scores on Friday night and saw those keep coming through, and all of a sudden Hilltop was winning, then all of a sudden it wasn't. Then back and forth, as you said, and it was a lot of I thought, my goodness, because if the Hilltoppers, but then again that speaks to Farragut, the quality. They've been kind of up and down too this year. Some of their scores have been kind of surprising. They've won big when they maybe shouldn't have, and then they've been. It's going to be interesting to see. And again, they're going in and taking on a wounded Indian team at J. Fred on Friday.
Well, that game's going to be an indicator for both teams, I think, as to how it's probably. I'll go ahead and say it. That game will probably determine the conference champion this year.
Very well, and of course, if Dobbs Bennett was to sustain any more injuries, or you just never know.
No.
So again, a season where they've got the number 1 defense in the region, good things can happen. So, all right.
I had one other game I wanted to mention.
Oh.
Sort of, and this will be quick. Greenville 70, Sullivan Central 0.
The clock is still running.
There's not much to post. Greenville struck early and struck often. End of story. This week, though, Greenville plays Sullivan South, and we've already seen Sullivan South's ability to strike quickly.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if Greenville's able to contain that. And then Sullivan Central, they take on Sullivan East this week in a game that somebody's got to win it.
Which that's on our picking panel. Again, we'll talk about that more on Friday. But, as you mentioned, of course, now Sullivan South, Reed he left that ball game in the second quarter with an ankle against Union last week, Union County. Again, that ball game was 37-0. So, but he was on crutches. I don't know his status. If he's not there, I don't give the Rebels any chance to beat Greenville.
I'm not sure they have much of a chance anyway.
Well, I'm sure their goal is to do what Gate City did to George Wythe. Gate City had the ball over 32 of the 48 minutes. Just kept that offense off.
I was going to say, keep Greenville off the field.
So a couple other scores from around Northeast Tennessee from last week. Of course, Granger beat Sullivan East. Game thought was going to be a little bit closer. It was 38-7. Granger, again, East is reeling at this point. Of course, Cloud had knocked off Unega 44-20. Chucky Doak, we talked about this in the pregame last week, probably was going to be one of the best games that nobody was talking about, and it turned out to be. Chucky Doak 38, Unicoi County 34. Those teams pretty much on par for where we thought they'd be.
Chucky Doak just keeps finding ways to win.
And again,
they're not flashy and nothing spectacular. They just win.
In a team like that, getting in the playoffs, you get you a win or two, and all of a sudden you're sitting there looking pretty good. And of course, if they can get some home games as well, that will help them as well. Tennessee High knocked off Volunteer 42-7. West Green blanked North Green 49-0. In a ball game that it was 19-7, then it was 42-19. Abington blasted Wise Central after they got things going. Again, that game was not close in the second half.
Sounds like Tennessee and Georgia.
Yes, it looked good for. And I'm sure that Neyland was a rocking, but
it was.
But things went off the rail pretty quick. Castlewood knocked off Northwood 38-6. Chilhowie beat Virginia High 22-7. J.I. Burton continues to roll. They're the team that I don't think anybody wants to play as they get into the playoffs. 48-6 over Eastside. Marion, as again coming to Legion Field, they posted 9 points the previous 2 weeks. They beat John Battle 9-7 2 weeks ago. They beat Grayson County 9-0, and then went with Lebanon 41-38. That ball game went back and forth all night long. So again,